You know that scene in The Terminator where Kyle Reese says,
It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity.
that's basically Ukraine's drone strategy that has been nothing short of a nightmare for Russia's military and oil infrastructure. But the real question is, how have Ukrainian drone operators managed to set millions of barrels of oil ablaze using these machines? Well, Russia got a New Year surprise on 8th January 2025 in the form of a precision strike on an oil depot fueling Engels 2 airbase, home to Russia's strategic bombers, and let's just say it lit up the night sky in a way Moscow didn't appreciate. But why is fuel such a critical weakness for Russia? Because its entire war machine runs on an insatiable appetite for it. Unlike modern Western systems designed for efficiency, Russia's military still relies on fuel-hungry Soviet-era technology. Tanks and trucks burn through massive amounts just to keep moving, while Su-34 bombers require constant refueling before launching guided bomb strikes. And then there's the Tu-95 MS, the backbone of Russia's strategic bombing force, which guzzles as much fuel in a single sortie as an entire tank battalion. Even the smaller, zippier units, Bukhankas, motorcycles, and those ridiculous turtle tanks Russia's so-called Hell Riders swear by are all stuck relying on the same shaky supply chain. Hit that like button if these rust buckets give you a good laugh. And when that supply starts running dry, the entire front line feels the squeeze. Just when Russia thought it had regained control, Ukraine struck again. On 14th January, the script repeated itself. Russian authorities have just proudly announced that they finally extinguished the fire at Engels oil depot. 5 days later, boom, flames back on. Locals heard 10 explosions as drones hit the same fuel depot, supplying Russia's strategic bombers. It's like Russia spent a week fighting a boss battle only to realize they were on endless respawn mode. After Engels got its second drone strike, Ukraine decided to keep the streak alive, this time hitting the Lyskinskaya oil depot near Voronezh on January 15th. These strikes don't just affect fuel supply, they are equally effective in perception warfare. Feels like Ukraine looked at Russia's economy and thought, what's the most expensive, flammable, and symbolically humiliating thing we can hit? Answer: oil refineries. Unlike Siberian oil fields, which are more spread out than a drunk at a party, refineries are compact, cost billions, and go up in flames faster than Russian PR explanations. Ukraine is not the first to invent such an approach. The US and Britain tried the same thing in World War II. They dropped over 200,000 tons of bombs on German refineries. Result? German fuel production still limped along at 40% capacity. Instead of carpet bombing, Ukraine turned to long-range drones, possibly taking inspiration from the Phoenix Ghost loitering munitions, which the Pentagon announced for Ukraine back in May 2022. Want to know how weapons like the Phoenix drone have been playing Ghost for 2 years straight? Hit subscribe. But why is Ukraine relying so heavily on drones, and what makes them so effective? The answer is simple: cost, precision, and deniability. Unlike expensive cruise missiles, drones are cheap, can be mass-produced, and are much harder to intercept. Now, Ukraine has its own deep strike UAVs. The Bober drone has been actively used to hit Russian targets. It carries a 44-pound warhead and can reach up to 621 miles, making it effective for long-range missions. While the Un-196 Liutyi has pushed the limits even further, capable of carrying a 165-pound warhead reaching up to 1,250 miles inside Russian territory. Another one of standout developments is the Hell missile drone, a weapon designed to function as both a long-range drone and a cruise missile. With a 435 miles range and a top speed of 435 miles per hour, its modular design allows it to adapt to different engine types, making it highly versatile and resilient against supply chain disruptions. Unlike Western-supplied missiles, nearly 70% of Hell components are made in Ukraine, making it a homegrown powerhouse in long-range warfare. Since late 2024, Hell production has surged with nearly 100 units already built and serial manufacturing ramping up. And Ukraine isn't stopping there. 30,000 long-range drones are set to be produced in 2025 as part of a grand strategy to offset artillery shortages and break free from restrictions on Western weapons. This transformation reflects Ukraine's remarkable adaptability in war, with factories now being relocated underground to shield production lines from Russian airstrikes. But with payloads of just 11 to 175 pounds, a single drone isn't dropping the equivalent of a blockbuster bomb. It's more like a precision mosquito bite. The solution? More mosquitoes, more swarms, more chaos. But these mosquitoes are not just biting fuel hubs, they are destroying the whole logistic chain. That includes last-mile delivery depots near the front lines and even fuel trains. There's footage from Tokmak, just about 18 miles from the front line, showing how Ukrainian drone operators first probed Russian fuel convoys, then successfully struck them by winter 2024. This wasn't an isolated case. In December 2024, Ukraine destroyed 40 rail cars carrying fuel for Russian troops in occupied Zaporizhzhia. These strikes prove Ukraine is systematically targeting Russia's fuel supply infrastructure wherever possible, from the frontline depots to deeper logistics routes. While Russian civilians still have fuel at the pumps, their military logistics are breaking down. Heavy armor is rolling onto the battlefield less frequently, in part due to fuel shortages. Ukraine's drone plan to destroy the military infrastructure was seen again on the 21st of January 2025. Ukrainian drones turned up the heat in Smolensk, striking the city's key aviation plant, known for its work on the Su-25 military aircraft. The attack caused a significant fire at the facility, sparking widespread speculation and concern. While Ukraine primarily targets Russian military sites, defense industry plants remain challenging targets for missiles and drones due to their heavy fortifications. This reality has driven Ukraine to hit where it hurts the most: Russia's oil infrastructure, disrupting the fuel supply that keeps the war machine running. While Russian officials confirmed a drone strike in the region, they kept quiet about the specific target, leaving the aviation plant out of their statements. If January 21st was a jab, the next strike was a full-blown haymaker, because just 3 days later, Ukraine unleashed one of the largest drone swarms of the war. 121 drones tearing through Russian airspace, targeting Moscow itself and hitting a major oil refinery in Ryazan. Now, when Russia says they shot down all 121 drones and everything is fine, but footage verified by the BBC shows a massive fireball erupting over a refinery, you start to wonder, does Russian air defense specialize in destroying drones after they explode? These drones just didn't hit oil refineries. Other factories also came under fire. The Kremny factory in Bryansk, which by total coincidence happens to produce electronic components for missiles that are later used to strike Ukraine, was also hit, forcing a shutdown. Meanwhile, Moscow's mayor rushed to assure the public that air defenses had intercepted drones at 4 locations, but didn't exactly clarify how many slipped through. But the real punchline? The drone attack forced 2 of Moscow's major airports, Vnukovo and Domodedovo, to shut down operations. That's right. Air traffic in the Russian capital was paralyzed by drones. You know, those things the Kremlin once dismissed as nothing but toys. 5 days later, on the 26th of January, the hit was strategic: a drone storage facility in Russia's Oryol Oblast. And not just any storage, this one housed Shahed drones. Reports suggest that Storm Shadow missiles were used, a weapon specifically designed to take out fortified targets. How bad was it? Well, according to Ukraine's general staff, 200 Shahed drones were destroyed. That's not just a scratch on Russia's drone stockpile. That's a dent the size of Siberia. Same day, drones hit Ryazan oil refinery again, which forced Russian authorities to shut down one of its largest oil refineries. The Ryazan refinery, responsible for processing 13.1 million tons of oil annually. After Ryazan suspended its operations, Lukoil's Norsy refinery in Nizhny Novgorod, Russia's 4th largest refinery, and a crucial piece of its wartime fuel supply also got hit. Overnight, a massive fire lit up the sky in Kstovo, where the refinery is located, with footage confirming what the Kremlin was trying to downplay. But that's not all. Cyber, another petrochemical giant, was also forced to halt operations after Ukrainian drone debris caused a fire at its plant. And if you think this is just about setting things on fire, think again. Russia needs these refineries. With US sanctions making crude oil exports more difficult, Moscow has been processing more oil to keep its economy afloat, and Ukraine just threw a wrench in that plan. On the last day of January, Ukraine hit another oil refinery, this time Lukoil's massive oil refinery in Volgograd. The overnight drone strike caused flashes and explosions near the plant, one of Russia's 10 largest refineries, according to Ukraine's general staff. In the first 1.5 months of 2025, Ukraine has disabled 10% of the refining capacity of Russia. In the last year, Ukraine carried out 81 drone attacks on oil refineries and fuel storage sites across Russia, Crimea, and occupied territories. The attacks reduced gasoline and diesel output, causing price hikes and increasing idle refining capacity to 2.7 million tons by November. This directly impacts Russia's $620 billion oil export revenue since the start of the war in February 2022, striking at the country's largest source of fossil fuel income. These Ukrainian strikes give us a glimpse into the future of warfare. In just a few years, we could see swarms of long-range drones, turning enemy infrastructure into a nightly battlefield, while air defenses struggle to keep up. And this experience? It's not just valuable for Ukraine. As the United States anticipates potential conflicts, particularly in the Indo-Pacific region, integrating these lessons becomes imperative. World powers are taking notes from the ongoing war strategies. Who do you think can better master these drone games in potential future conflict? US? China? Russia? Let's discuss in the comments.